No one knew that a deadly virus would significantly impact millions of lives across the globe. Almost every industry has been hit by the current crisis. As per the United Nations, the COVID-19 pandemic has created the largest disruption of education systems in history, affecting nearly 1.6 billion learners in more than 190 countries and all continents. But one of the few positive outcomes from this experience is an opportunity to rethink how digital technologies can be used to support teaching and learning. As the world collectively braves through this pandemic outbreak, technologies have surely become a critical factor and unquestionably opened the world of digital learning and sustainable solutions. Some of the foremost countries have embraced these technologies for pandemic planning, surveillance, testing, contact tracing, quarantine, and in the healthcare sector too. The technology will keep spreading and shifting drastically, opening more prospects for newer and undiscovered innovations to take over. It's not that we use technology, we live technology. On that quote by Godfrey Reggio, I would like to begin the program by extending a formal welcome to all our respected guests for the day. First, I would like to introduce Dr. Madhu Vinay, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir. Uh, Dr. Madhu Vinay is Vice Chancellor of the ICFI University, Dehradun. He's a certified academic leader by Center for Academic Leadership and Education Management, MHRD. He has around 3 decades of rich experience in the field of education, training, planning, management, and consultancy. He is recognized not only for establishing institutions, but also leading them to excellence in academics and research with his path-breaking initiatives. He has been conferred the Vice Chancellor of the Year Award in the year 2020 by the Uttarakhand State Council for Science and Technology, Government of Uttarakhand. Thank you for your presence, sir. Sir, I would now request you to share some motivational words with us.
Good afternoon to today's guest speaker, Professor L.M. Patnaik, Adjunct Professor, National Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore, and my colleague, Dr. Meena Bhandari, and my colleague, Atulya Verma, and today's anchor, Arshal, and my dear participants. It gives me an immense pleasure to invite Professor L.M. Patnaik, today's topic on technology-centric education and healthcare. Now, at this moment, the topic which the ICFI Educational School has chosen, it's a good topic. Now, everybody sitting at home, we are only on the technology, and we are getting everything on the technology, whichever it is there completely. And I request Professor L.M. Patnaik to talk about more on this, because we are not the expert. He's an expert wherein he can talk on this topic more completely. And with this, back to Arsha.
Thank you, sir, for your guidance and support to all of us. Moving right along, I now invite Dr. Meena Bhandari, head the ICFI Education School, ICFI University, to introduce the chief guest to all of us.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to introduce an eminent guest today who's going to talk about something to which we are very closely related to at the moment: technology-centric education and healthcare, a paradigm shift in post-pandemic living. Professor L.M. Patnaik is a PhD in real-time systems, DSc in computer systems and architecture from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Currently, he is a NASI honorary scientist and adjunct professor. Professor Patnaik has a rich experience of 50 years. His teaching, research, and development interests have been in high-performance computing, mobile computing, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. He has over 1,300 publications in refereed international journals. He has supervised over 30 doctoral theses and over 160 master's theses. He has been an investigator for a large number of government-sponsored research projects funded by DST, DAE, DOS, DRDO, DOE, MEIT. He is also a consultant to some industries. One of his research papers in the area of adaptive genetic algorithms has been cited over 3,800 times. He has served as president of Advanced Computing and Communication Society and the Computational Intelligence Society of India. He is a distinguished visitor of the IEEE Computer Society for the Asia Pacific region. As recognition of his contribution in the areas of electronics information, he has been awarded the Dr. Vikram Sarabhai Research Award, the Honorable Mention Award. He has a long list of prestigious awards to his credit, the latest being the Lifetime Achievement Award by Computer Society of India 2017 and Professor S.N. Mitra Memorial Award of the INAE in 2020. His name appears in Asia's who's who of men and women of achievement. He has delivered over 300 keynote talks at several international and national conferences on computer science and more recently on National Education Policy 2020. He has also served as on several significant committees as advisor, which include CSIR, MHRD, DRDO, UPSC, and the Yashpal Committee for advising on renovation and rejuvenation of higher education. As Vice Chancellor of the Defense Institute of Advanced Technology, deemed University Pune, he was responsible for conducting a large number of doctoral, master's, short and long-term courses in the field of defense technology for service officers from Army, Air Force, Navy, DRDO scientists, etc. He has also initiated postgraduate programs for defense services, including one in cyber security and a collaborative program with the Naval Postgraduate School, California, USA. Professor Patnaik has to be commended that his training as well as the research work done are entirely indigenously based. Undoubtedly, his contribution to Indian higher technical education system is outstanding. Believe me, this was just a very brief profile that I read out to you. You can visit his website to know more about his outstanding work, his publications, his awards and achievements. Professor Patnaik, uh, Professor Patnaik, we are truly honored and privileged to have you here with us, and I'm certain that all of us here will be enlightened by your session. Welcome, sir, and over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir. We are able to see.
Does it advance? It advances, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Thank you very much. Honorable VC, Professor Dr. Muddu Vinayak. I don't know whether Registrar is around, otherwise in absentia. Brigadier Rajiv Sethi, Registrar. Dr. Meena Bhandari, HOD of the Education School. And her colleagues, Madam Atulya Verma, Mrs. Swati Rathuri, and the comparative who was giving the nice introduction in the beginning, herself, other faculty members, students, attendees to the lecture. At the outset, I would like to express my profuse thanks to the university authorities for inviting me to deliver this talk, particularly to Honorable Vice Chancellor, who I am sure was the key person instrumental in giving the formal approval, and the HOD, Dr. Meena Bhandari, was very kind and sweet to give a nice introduction. If I don't live up to her expectations, what she has created in you, you should blame her, I think. Okay? No, I'm just telling in a lighter sense. Please don't take it seriously. Okay? Thanks a lot, madam, for the nice short introduction. And I'm also profusely and greatly thankful to Madam Atulya Verma, who has extended wonderful help and support during the past few days. At a short notice, we could organize this. She has been in constant touch with me through mail, WhatsApp messages, to see how things can be speeded up. Thank you very much. The title of the talk, as was justified by Mr. Herschel, has something to do with the present scenario. That is technology-centric education and healthcare, a paradigm shift in post-pandemic living. There are two significant things which pandemic has influenced our lives greatly. One is education, which concerns all of us today in this seminar or the webinar, and the second one is healthcare. Both of them were very badly affected during the pandemic, besides other things like economy, infrastructure, with weather. Some had positive effects, some had negative effects. For example, people said environment probably got a positive impact for some time. There was lesser pollution, lesser movement of people, lesser movement of vehicles and all. But education and healthcare faced great challenges. And what is of direct relevance to us is certainly education research. As was mentioned by Honorable VC, thanks to technology, we are having this meeting sitting across the country in our homes. Technology has permitted this. But then along with it comes a lot of challenges. We will talk about that very briefly. Though I have chosen two different topics, education and healthcare, I will put more emphasis on education as was suggested by the Honorable Vice Chancellor, mainly because it's directly relevant to us. Secondly, there is a shortage of time. In about 30-35 minutes, I need to cover. Initially, I was preparing for about an hour, so I will cut short this one. Before I get into that, if you look at the scenario in the higher education institutions these days, there is a term which is coming up. I will talk about very quickly what is called the integration, cross-disciplinary or interdisciplinary work, referring to educational experiences that brings together arts, humanities, sciences, engineering, medicine. And this is particularly relevant in the present context because a lot of scientists, a lot of engineers, a lot of doctors are interacting among themselves and trying to coming up how technology can be used, how science can be used. We have heard stories right in India. There are innovative examples of oxygen concentrators being designed so that people can be using it from home. They are talked about novel ways of designing ventilators. There are new methods of using AI techniques, machine learning techniques to detect the disease, to predict something. Mathematicians have been doing something to model and predict the onsets of the pandemic, how it progresses, and what form it will take, and when it is likely to have a plateau, when it will see a decreasing trend. So there is a strong interaction among these people. That is what is the order of the day. And truly speaking, a university should encourage this strong interaction among all the faculties. Integration of arts and humanities with science, technology, engineering, math, STEM at the undergraduate level leads to certain positive learning outcomes like critical thinking, communication skills, and improved visuospatial skills, improved motivation and enjoyment of learning. Because if you look at Most of the universities, they are unitary, they concentrate either on engineering technology or on agriculture or in medicine. Possibly that is not a good trend. You should talk to economists, you should talk to people who specialize in liberal arts, philosophy, psychology, everything. Because courses and programs that integrates arts and humanities with medical and pharmaceutical training will improve the visual diagnostic skills, resiliency, empathy, and self-efficiency. The doctors should learn these things from the soft sciences, liberal arts, humanities people, and what is the implication of these things. There are many great people who have said why science technologies should go hand in hand with liberal arts. Apple co-founder Steve Jobs said it is technology married with liberal arts, married with humanities, that yields the result that makes our hearts sing. He said it is essential. Language, art, history, economics, ethics, philosophy, psychology, human development courses can teach us critical, philosophical, ethics-based skills that will be instrumental in the development and management of AI solutions. Who said this? Microsoft President Brad Smith. Apple co-founder Steve Jobs said, the reason that Apple is able to create products like iPad is because we have always tried to be at the intersection of technology and liberal arts, not only technology. And Albert Einstein said, all religions, arts, sciences are branches from the same tree. So that is where, even in the present scenario, when we are talking about the National Education Policy, NEP, you said there is something like you have, even though classification of public, private institutions, there is a strong emphasis on interaction, cross-disciplinarity among what we call the different disciplines. That is, you have medicine, science, engineering, technology, arts, humanities, law, they're all integrating. And they should be what you call cross-disciplinary, okay, multidisciplinary, with the soft skills and all that thing. And the universities can be research intensive, teaching intensive, autonomous degree colleges. So they all should interact. That is what is required. And we have seen it is felt even during the pandemic time that this is the dire necessity. That's where we talked about whether the emphasis even in NEP, teaching, research, there is a community engagement, environmental education, value-based education. And though there were talk about this multiple entry, multiple exit, like 1 year certificate, diploma, bachelor, there was an emphasis on what is called 4-year undergraduate multidisciplinary degrees, who can get into master's, PhD. And if you see, there is emphasis there, you find what at the top, ODL, that is online distance learning or online learning, they emphasized, okay? So what has been till now, we have been experiencing is before the pandemic, face-to-face. Of course, the pandemic changed from face-to-face, it is mass to mass. It is no more face-to-face. And we are having probably, it is only a distance learning or only through online learning using technology extensively. There are main challenges we find in higher education institutions, in general in the country. One is they should contribute to an increasingly digital economy and society. The second most important point is they must leverage technology to deliver better and more inclusive education. That is what is important we are talking about. Technology has to be exploited, respond to growing demand but shifting demographics, and strike a balance between public and private provisions. And the fifth point is you should remain global in an age of nationalism. You should talk about local issues, societal issues, national issues. At the same time, you should remain global because even higher education also is becoming global. So it is more international, but more locally connected and socially responsible. That is where we are talking about. Even in the pandemic scenario, it is felt that you should address local problems, local issues, medicines, the problems of solution, rather than thinking in terms of global, how it is done somewhere. And it has to be more flexible, innovative, to come up with new innovative methods, and more collaborative both within and outside, and it is more entrepreneur based. That is what is now putting a challenge in all of us in higher education institutions. So what we witnessed in post-pandemic scenario in higher education, if you see globally more than 200 million, let us not worry about the number, higher education students are unable to attend classes on campus. They are closed, as you can see. Approximately 70% of international students have returned to their home countries, while 30% stay abroad, many times facing significant challenges. And only 60% of teaching delivery has been transferred to remote online, which means 40% of students are experiencing significant learning deficit. Even with that, we have not been able to address the problem completely. There is a new normal which has come, which we are seeing. This is what is the regular scenario you see in classrooms, seminar halls, wherever there is a physical presence, that is what you see. Even in schools, we find this thing. And what with that, what is happening? Probably one fine morning, you will find what is called a Zoom University. Zoom has become very popular. Okay. And time is being wasted. There is a simple cartoon here. A gentleman went for an interview. The interviewer asked, I see in your biodata, there is a gap in 2020. What were you doing in 2020? The person says, I was washing my hand throughout the year. That is what I was told. Okay. So that is what has been the impact of this one. So what this has forced on us is use of technology, digital learning. So it is like, as you say, deja vu all over again. We have been doing digital learning. We have been doing distance learning, but in a different form. It was not forced on us. Digital learning, as you know, is any type of learning that is accompanied by technology or by instructional practice that makes effective use of technology. Very common things. Okay. The learning in digital environment is characterized by provision of learning materials that are independent of time and location and by broad access to learning materials. Students are increasingly engaging in what is called blended modes. You can have sometimes the offline mode, attend physical mode, classes physically, sometimes online mode, sometimes maybe have mixed, get into smaller groups, have flipped mode, different experiments for learning activities they undertake in digital environments. This cartoon says there is a student who is interacting with an instructor at the other end of in a digital mode. The instructor at the other end is struggling. He says, are you able to download the video? You use the video plugin. And he says, do you have Dropbox? Do you have WeTransfer? Do you have Google Docs? Try everything. Finally, everything fails. The student says, sir, I'm not sure how to present it. The instructor says, how to present it. Then the student says, can you fax it to us? That is because you find there is a connectivity problem, there is technology problem. We talk about technology use, but this has its attendant problems also. One of the technological aspects which has been used in digital learning in AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning. We will talk about its use both in education and in healthcare. It has come very handy, useful recently. One is for system-facing applications AI. How can AI be used by the administration, by the institution, by the management? For example, it can include AI to support, analyze students' use of institutions' virtual learning. From this, you can anticipate, forecast students at risk of dropping out. Which students may drop out? Their performances, their attendances, different patterns one can see, and by past history data, it can analyze and alert. Student-facing applications of AI. How students can use the AI technology. There is a tool called Intelligent Tutoring System, ITS. This will present students with some information, a related learning exercise like a quiz, test, and these are dialogue-based tutoring systems are also part of this. How can teachers be using the AI tools and technology designed to support teachers to enhance their own teaching skills? And they will give teachers smart access to relevant information or will help them manage their classroom. So technology, AI, machine learning solutions can be used by management, administration, by students and teachers in their own different format. We talk about what is called post-humanism, is the idea of moving beyond viewing humans as being the center of everything, considering how humans fit within a broad spectrum of existence. So computers and robots are being used experimentally as a means of supporting learners. In Georgia Tech, they have used a teaching assistant called Jill Watson 18. It is a robo, a chatbot. Jill Watson was introduced as a means of reducing the load on human tutors. Initially, the robot did a lot of mistakes, offered very strange answers to students, but ultimately, majority of students who asked questions, Jill was indistinguishable from a tutor. Jill behaved as if a tutor is answering the questions. So they have been used as a replacement of tutors and teaching assistants. So this leaves important questions. What principles can help distinguish increasingly intelligent or representational forms of teaching assistant from teachers, students, from world around them? People who work in education, philosophy, psychology, streams like this should research these issues. Okay, like what is the basic difference between the teaching assistants, teachers, students, and from the world around them? What is the capability? What is the role of a teacher, the student, and perhaps even the human being within a more complex world consisting of social, material, artificial elements? Does the work completed on behalf of or on benefit of non-human instruments, using them like a computer, change the nature of knowledge and knowing? These are some fundamental questions. We use them. Who can answer? People who work in education, education systems, philosophy, psychology of learning. When a student uses smart tools to speed up substantially the process of writing an assignment, what are the long-term effects of such actions, the learning process, or on education? One can use that as a short-term benefit to get some good results. What is its long-term impact? Studies have to be conducted. One of the important things people have experienced during this pandemic scenario is how to conduct laboratory experiments, physics, chemistry, biology, the material science, electrical engineering. How do you conduct these experiments? You can talk about teaching something using PPTs, using online modes, but how do you interact with instruments? An online laboratory is an interactive environment for creating or conducting experiments. The lab could be accessed through the web or as a program running on a computer. They're either simulation based, you can simulate something and a computer see that, or you can remotely actuate them using wireless medium or over the web, you can conduct some experiments. There are attempts across the world, people have tried that. Even in India, there is a concept of what we call virtual lab. You can conduct experiments, okay? The aim for a student is to experience the procedures of carrying out an experiment. In engineering, science, it is important. You have to conduct some experiments, including consequences of making mistakes. The labs can provide students with hands-on investigation and opportunities. So there is what is called, people have come up with what is called a virtual microscope. It's not a real microscope, obviously, it's a virtual microscope. It has been realized, but it's a very difficult problem. There have been simulation software, which is highly specialized. You can simulate some experiment. You can get a feel as if you are doing that using animation techniques. You can feel the animation, see it on the screen. There is a need to ensure the learning of design-based, lab-based practical activities. This is what is the challenge now people are asking. One of the most important things in digital learning is what we call digital fatigue. Students cannot listen to lectures online mode for 6 hours, 8 hours a day continuously. Fatigue starts. After 5-10 minutes, they lose their concentration. So how do you handle this issue of digital fatigue? Make them concentrate on this. This is a very challenging problem, challenging issue. Can digital learning preserve the teacher and student relationship? There is an intimate relationship in this. With high quality resources now freely available online, ability to acquire information, there is a fundamental important need to refocus on the value of campus experience. The students are missing the campus experience, peer interaction with their friends, with their colleagues. If you ask most of the youngsters, do you want to come back to the university or the college? Most of them will say yes. They are missing the campus life. That is something online education, distance learning cannot replace. But that is where research has to be done. How do you enable this, get this part of this into the distance education? In between, provide something, have some animation, some interaction among themselves. They feel that as if they are in the campus. Accessing opportunities for using knowledge in meaningful ways has improved through increased webinars, wikis, and all that thing we are organizing, like this one. But the capacity to interact with experts and see them model the process, conducting an experiment, applying a knowledge is missing. You cannot see that. Digital simulation, virtual role plays, virtual reality environments are beginning to bridge this gap. You see how an expert does that, capture that in a virtual reality mode, display that, they get an idea. How much of these environments will actually be at prove expert application knowledge is really an open question. They really are useful, one has to see. There are online tools we have experienced these days like Google Classroom, Top Hat, Kahoot, Cisco WebEx, Pronto, Avaya, Zoom, Microsoft Teams. They have all become very popular. There is what is called an open engineering laboratory, provides practical lab-based teaching courses in electronics, control, materials, robotics, engineering. It's available. A group of 12 institutions in IIT Delhi have set up 100 virtual labs with over 700 web-enabled experiments. These are simulation-based. Some you can remotely trigger. Sitting at home, you can do these things. There is a company called Labster in Europe and USA, and GE Lab. There is something called Lila, Library of Labs. With 8 universities, 3 enterprises, they have this type of virtual lab. There is a platform called Twitch, which is used for esports, that is playing games, sports in electronic mode. This has been used now for formal and informal learning and education. And there are certain guidelines for how to build in ethics when you talk about learning analytics in open and distance learning. Security and privacy are very important issues. As you know, many students, many children are using the web, the distance and open learning mode, the distance learning online mode. So a lot of personal private information is available on the net over the wireless medium, which could be accessed, misused. So one has to be very careful about this aspect. So if you look at the technology, summary-wise, video format for online learning technology, what are the things you need? You need for presenting slides, looking at the learners, writing on a digital whiteboard, presenting while looking at the learners, writing while looking at the learners. So for this, what are the resources? You need a laptop plus PPT file. Some cases you need camera, laptop, and a webcam. Some cases you need iPad screen, laptop, and writing software. And the type of video software you need, that is what you find in the last column: slidecast, talking head, screencast, picture in picture, picture in picture. These could be used. We have quite a bit of these tools available in public domain, free. Some of them you have to buy, purchase, so that you could essentially present the slides, look at the learners, write as if write in the whiteboard, write while you talk to the learners. The transitions are, the challenges are, transitioning to online time at a scale is very difficult, very complex. Highly motivated learners, those who have used online mode, can pick up very fast, very well. And organizing digital educational content to align with existing curricula can be very critical. Making content available on a number of devices like mobile, on your screen, on an iPod, is all very critical. And we have low bandwidth, and including offline solutions is the key to effective learning. And one of the important things, staff teaching online need to be supported. We have immediately started with online mode or using technology, but the staff were not prepared. It is not just transferring offline lecture notes, PPTs to online mode. They need to be trained. How you prepare these modules, how this has to be done. No training is being done. Staff have to be trained. Developments in emerging educational technology are impacting, like AI. It is increasingly clear that teachers will be working along with AI. Like the student starts with a simple lesson and the software finds out the background and slowly complicates that, like the teacher that there are machine learning packages. The complex social environment of physical and virtual interaction will raise new issues, and as has become apparent in the field of what is called learning analytics, these cannot rely on technical solution, but you will have to do fundamental understanding of how students learn using principles of education, philosophy, psychology, and all that. What are the problems of virtual classrooms? There are access issues, no smartphones, no shared devices, lack of flexibility in schedule, power, network, and you make them busy for hour-long lecture over a screen. Is engagement possible? Uploading of the recordings of live sessions may be useful. You can do that, but it is not good because there are glitches in recordings, voice breaks, there are frozen frames, students lose interest. And most of the students study for tests, you know that. Even short lectures are not watched by them. Even for 10 minutes, they cannot watch. High variability in student motivation. Network bandwidth issues, connectivity, lecture alone is not enough. Need activities for deeper engagement. Giving a lecture in a virtual classroom and uploading it is what is called emergency remote teaching, but this should be used for only less than 20% of the course. Why? Because you miss out a necessary aspect. There is no interaction. Responding to student actions is not possible. Meaningful discussion is not there. Adapting instruction in real time is not possible. There was a study conducted among many IITs. 840 instructors were interviewed. 11,890 students participated during pandemic. They looked at synchronous virtual classroom, asynchronous material. The questionnaire was circulated to instructor and students. Only synchronous, instructors 47% said, students said 20%. Only asynchronous, instructors 14, students 28. But both mixed, 40% instructors said, majority students said we want both mixed, 55%. So if you look at the statistics, even in elite institutions during pandemic, IITs, it has been found only 62% students had access to laptop and desktop because they are in their villages. They are not in the cities, not in the campuses. Out of the remaining 38%, 33% have access to smartphones. Smartphones are challenging to complete assignments and projects. Only 20% students have stable and good quality internet. 80% students use 3G, 4G services, not stable. 1 hour of recorded video can need about 100 MB. If you look at the statistics available in India, what percentage of people have access to PC, laptop, mobile, internet connectivity, it is not very encouraging. So what does online instruction give? Anytime, anywhere, any device. Making course material available for asynchronous access, giving immediate practice activities, conducting synchronous meetings, providing forum for learners to discuss the content. So the online instruction involves content creation, uploading, design activities, interaction, and assessment. So what are the principles? Curate before you create. Don't start to create everything. Look around and find out what is there. Curate. Second principle, keep videos very short and insert reflection spots. Give practice opportunity immediately and frequently and give feedback. And provide diverse resources to cater to different students and incentivize the access to resources. Leverage peer learning to bring diverse perspectives and solutions, discover additional resources, avoid isolation issues, respond to student actions in a timely and appropriate manner. So if you look at your face-to-face course to corresponding online courses, how do you map? Chunk each lecture into sections, include reflection spots, chunk each homework into sections, close the loop, have number of quizzes, and all that thing. There are many technologies. The hardware you require, camera, webcam, headphone, earbuds, tablets. Then you have to worry about the server space, studio, small studio, big studio. Then there is you have to calculate peak load calculation, server sizes, internet bandwidth, and all that thing. So you need to create content, The planning or the video recording, the preparation content can be a PPT or PDF, and you have to record the video and you have to edit the video also. You can present using slides, look at the learners, writing or sketching on a digital whiteboard, presenting while looking, writing or sketching while looking at learners, some combinations of the above. If you are only presentation using slides, use a video tool like Slidecast. Looking at learners, there is something called talking head. Writing on a digital whiteboard, use screencast. Presenting while looking at the learners, pick and pick. There are many of these available. Writing while looking at learners, pick and pick. Okay. So you need video recording, identifying resources, hardware, software, right type of selection of these things. And again, the technology involves quite a bit. We don't have time to get into that. I will very quickly run down these things. You need screen recorders, talking head like webcam, smartphone, and open broadcast software and all that thing. And you need to edit the video, like trim, slice, merge, add or remove pauses, add or remove graphics, insert these things, export videos. This is how you need to video edit using what is called an open shot, like trim, add or remove pauses, include transition, export videos. Make videos interactive, engage students in content, quick practice, use tools like H5P during editing, or use slide during recording, and you should have reflection spots, otherwise students feel bored. And you need to create activities, provide feedback and student responses. There are and interact with students, conduct live interactions. You have a moderator, you can have a chat, hand raise, poll, thumbs up and down, encourage students to speak. There is something called Muddiest Points, which is a video conferencing software. Address these course platforms. Ask teaching assistants to write summary of the key points for those who are unable to join. Ask different types of questions or activities. Encourage students to participate. Get an idea about student progress. Have multiple choice questions, yes, no type of things. So there exist many technology tools. If you are talking content creation, PPT or PDF, whiteboard, flashback express, upload like YouTube, Vimeo, Moodle, design activities like Google tools and all, interacting with students using Zoom, WebEx, Big Blue Button, assessments, it could be a third party or remote monitoring. Normally, the standard practice is you should have a mix and match. Identify the content that you feel must you do yourself, only 50%. Identify the content that is amenable to curation, 30%. Take 20%, the content that could be live, do live interaction and the video. You should have a mix of all these things. This can change depending on the experience. Content creation for online instruction takes at least 4 times as compared to corresponding face-to-face class. It takes quite a bit of time. Curate resources, get TAs to help. There is no single correct way of conducting online courses. Be aware of trade-off. It is sufficient you start somewhere and go ahead. Focus on technology, strategies, effective online instructors. I will now quickly spend a few minutes, maybe about 5 minutes or so, about the medical aspects, then we will stop. AI, how it comes in the rescue of pandemic. We talked about education. It helps in telling you where should PPEs and ventilators be sent, depending on the data, statistics, performance, which population need most help. How can strain on doctors be eased, reduced? Do not load the doctors with all routine work. Let them do more important high-level work. Routine things, let it be done by a machine using AI, ML algorithm. Physicians can keep off from dangers, can do more therapeutic work, do less paperwork. AI helps in early diagnosis, providing treatment at an early stage, providing best training doctors and students. The doctors using a chatbot, you can train the students even. Robots can handle some sort of risky items, they can be used. Can provide more predictive and preventive healthcare. And by looking at the protein molecular structure, AI machine learning has been used extensively in vaccine development. AI can help in early warning and alerts, tracking and prediction, data dashboards, diagnosis and prognosis, treatment, Russia is using a combination of an app and a QR code to track infected people. Computer vision and robots will be used for social control. And what is predominant in our country is X-ray. CT and other types of scans are more expensive. So you can use X-rays, which is a cheap method available in many hospitals. Use AI and machine learning methods to detect these diseases. We have used what are called convolution CNN type of algorithms. AI systems at present are constrained by lack of data. What is required for this? Huge amount of data. A country like ours generates huge amount of data. What is true in China may not be true in our case. What is true in US or Brazil, we cannot use it straight away. So one can use it for modeling, analysis, forecasting, prediction, and all that thing. After infections are gone, surveillance and other data may be misused. One has to be very careful. In this worldwide health crisis, the medical industry is looking for new technologies to monitor and control the spread of this. We said forgetting about mechanical things like concentrators, ventilators, and all. In fact, when you talk about a ventilator, it is the one which pumps in oxygen. There is a natural oxygen flow. So how do you synchronize both of these things? What should be setting? An AI or a machine learning algorithm instructs a mechanical part to do that, rather than a healthcare person or a nurse or a doctor doing that. We have hundreds of thousands of patients. There cannot be a doctor and a nurse for each patient. The machine has to take care of these things and do that. AI can help us to fight this virus by population screening, medical help, notification, and suggestions. It can predict mortality risk by adequately analyzing the previous data. How people died, what happened, what were the treatment, symptoms, what failed, and all that thing. So there are many things like detection, early warning, detecting anomalies, then prevention, prediction. So in detection, we have early warning, diagnosis, we have what is called blue dot, CT scans and all. Then prevention, prediction, surveillance, information, many tools, EP risk, contact tracing, social network, delivery, service automation. For delivery, that is drones are used for material transport, robots for high exposure tasks. There is a robo called Cruiser which has been used. Canada's COVID-19 chatbot, it is deployed for triaging virtual assistant chatbots, is monitoring VBank. There are many of these things. Early detection and diagnosis of the infection, useful in diagnosis of infected cases using CT MRI. Monitoring of treatment, a neural network can do that. Contact tracing of individuals, predicting the risk of infection, identifying who is at most risk, infection risk, severity, screening patients and diagnosis using face scans, smartwatches, machine learning chatbots, reducing the workload of doctors. They should not do routine things. You can project cases mortality by using the past data, predict the number of positive cases, development of drugs and vaccines using these tools. So as I said, it was used for diagnosing radiology of images, is used using different types of neural networks. I am coming toward the fag end of this. And abnormally respiratory pattern classifier may contribute to large-scale screening. And we have used this for, as you said, using classifier methods to simple and intuitive clinical tests. CT radiomics models showed the feasibility accuracy that have been used in practice. There is a company called Benevolent AI which used search for a drug called baricitinib, which is predicted to reduce the ability of the virus to infect lung cells. That was found through their study. Critical assessment techniques for protein structure prediction using deep neural network by looking at genetic sequences for vaccine development using different types of convolution neural network and learning algorithms. Integrated AI-based drug discovery pipeline to generate novel drug compounds, because designing new type of drugs to combat disease, which takes, as you know, even vaccine development takes several years. It's a multi-billion-dollar activity. But then using this type of techniques, it can be speeded up. Smartphone thermometer is an authentic alternative apparatus for assessing temperature. You can look at the acoustic behavior of the cough. When the person coughs, look at how sound waves come, what type of sound comes, using an extensive set of acoustic features. From that, you can find out whether it is a healthy subject with the subject or a patient with COVID symptom by looking at the sound patterns. So can you have an AI doctor for COVID-19? Healthcare organizations are in urgent need for decision-making technologies to handle this virus, help them in getting proper suggestion. AI, artificial intelligence, is an upcoming and useful tool which works in proficient way to mimic the human brain, act like an expert, facilitate research on the virus, analyzing the data. It plays a vital role in understanding, suggesting the development of a vaccine for this. It can significantly improve treatment consistency, decision making, and significant applications are applied to track data confirmed, recovered in the death cases. It helps in developing proper treatment regimes, prevention strategies, drug and vaccine development. What it needs is huge amount of data. And that is what we have. We should collect that for different types of patients, demographies and patients. Yeah, I'm coming to an end. So you can, as I said, observe a lot by watching around. That is what Yogi Berra, the famous baseball legend, said. And our Rigveda also says that Ado Bhadraha Kartavo Yantu Vishwataha. That is, let noble thoughts come to us from every side. That is true when you talk about use of technology, AI, machine learning, education, and healthcare system. You should keep your eyes and ears open to get suggestions, to get knowledge, to get data, to get information from different sides. And if you look at the scenario of university in distance learning, when you talk about using technology or digital learning mode, Peter Drucker, the famous person, said, universities won't survive. The future is outside the traditional classroom, outside the traditional campus. Universities need to gear up for this change. Traditional way of teaching learning will undergo change. Maybe this is a drastic statement. They will survive, but we should change our mode of teaching, learning, how we should do that. And now that use of technology for what we call online learning. Online, you can use it when you do it this, but distance learning uses online for a distance. Online and distance are not same, okay? They need not be synonymous, okay? In online, you use some technology for doing it online, okay? But a distance learning, as it implies, there is a physical distance, okay? So this is what Mahatma Gandhi said, the future depends on what we do in the present, okay? So we need to be vigilant, take right decisions for that. So thank you very much for your time. That wraps up my time. I thank you for yours. Sorry, I have spilled over a little bit. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We are so glad you could be here today to share your insights on technology-centric education in healthcare. The talk was very enlightening, comprehensive, and explained with pinpoint accuracy. So, with your permission, we would like to have an interactive session and take a few questions.
Sure.
So, dear participants, you can unmute yourself and ask your questions.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Ritik Diman, student of ICFI Education School. My question to you, sir, is how to introduce technological centric study in the hinterland of hilly regions where there are network issues and lack of resources.
Yeah, this is a challenge. Okay. What you said, there is a connectivity problem. I also mentioned in my talk, we have this problem in this country. That is where the infrastructure has to be improved. When you talk about, for example, we have talked about 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, and all that, you should have some mechanism to see how the towers can be placed in optimal locations and how they can be strengthened, the signal can be strengthened using some devices, methods called repeaters and other types of mechanisms where you can do that. It will be a little bit expensive, but the problems are of a different nature, okay? What you have in a plain land, it is different. And wireless technology has that inherent problems, as you pointed out, in hilly regions, okay? That is where we should talk about optimal location of these towers, maybe multiple of these things, and at regular intervals, how do you essentially modulate, increase their strengths using technology. So there has to be specific solutions for that. The straight methods, the straight jacketed method cannot be used what you use in a plain land. It will be bid expensive. The second point, as you said, where there is less access to this infrastructure. For example, you talk about as a minimal thing, what you need is a laptop or a mobile as an access device, right? So what can be done initially, what in the hilly region there, maybe there is in a common area where one could do that using display mechanisms, televisions, other types of big screen devices where a number of people can use and interact. For example, if we talk medical application, agriculture application, so a number of people can assemble in a place, it can be broadcast, and they can all come and watch rather than individually having it, because where the health problems, health instructions are common. And there can be a mechanism of interactive session where they can ask questions and do that. Because if you want to have each individual to possess that one, it is not only possessing, you should be paying for the internet connectivity every month. It is a recurring expense. They may or may not be able to do that. So that has to be supported in a sort of common or a mass manner. Initially, start doing that experiments. But even that can be extended for education also, when you want to educate people, illiterate people. So this is more important, particularly in villages, when you talk about weather, crops, when you should cultivate, do that, when you should put pesticides, monsoon, forecasting. Right now it happens only on a television, but it is one way. Okay, you cannot interact. There can be have an interactive session, simple one. You can have it in a fixed hours. As some of the techniques what we have been using, disable video so that you get better bandwidth. Okay, something like that can be done. And if it is audio only, maybe using phone, do that. Some technological solutions can be adopted.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Welcome.
Dr. Patnaik, so this is Arjun from ICFI School.
Yeah.
So I wanted to understand, in your opinion, you see, with this government, say they had a focus on digital platforms, and when the pandemic started, we were very quick to come up with our Arogya Setu app and things like that. But so education took a lockdown as well.
Yeah.
And what do you think would have been the challenges why the government or the national education setup? You see, we could create a NEP in the last 1 year,
Yeah.
but we have not been able to create a substitute for a Byju's, which works for all the poor people who are working in schools, studying in schools across the country. And so your earlier question was related to creating infrastructure for new students, but currently there are 250 million children students in schools right now, and 60% of them have access to mobile phones. And very few of them, I think 60 lakh of them, are paid users onto Baiju, which leaves us with a very big section of 180 million odd children who are only dependent on their schools, who are teaching them on WhatsApp. So, if there was, what would have been the challenges why we have not been able to do such a project so far, that, centralized classes are being run digitally online through a government's based app or something like that?
Yeah, you mean in the context of schools, you are asking this, or higher education system?
So schools, I'm talking of schools to begin with,
Schools, yeah,
because
that is
higher
where there is
education is a
yeah.
later problem. Correct.
Yes, yeah, higher education, some of the students, parents, teachers are able to understand some nuances and adjust. The problem is much more serious in schools. Okay. Yeah, I agree with you where you raise this issue, why the government is not able to do. I think they should have taken that issue, providing some infrastructure facility for that, having in a centralized manner and do that, start it. Rather than trying with other experiments, someone in a private mode experimented that, proved it. We could have done that from this Department of Education side. What all it needed is good infrastructure, which is not, I think, that expensive. Okay, you don't need all that sophisticated things. You can be running in a centralized manner in specific locations. Teachers can be doing that. We needed, I think, some studios. They could have been set up there.
A very basic infrastructure. It is
Basic
very scalable.
infrastructure. And
Correct.
this country, as you know, Professor, had experiment satellite instructional television system, site and other things. They have done that in the past. It has been used. It could have been used. And the Department of Space could have been involved in these things. And they would have certainly come up with and done that. Probably, I don't know, the priorities were different, honestly speaking.
Right.
Their immediate, this one was healthcare, probably. How to take care of the pandemic, vaccine, disease. And this is an unprecedented problem. We never had this problem where you see lack of beds, lack of ICUs, lack of doctors, lack of nurses, lack of ventilators, lack of concentrators. And finally, pardon me for telling, it's a pathetic thing, even lack of proper crematorium space. When people die, there is no way of, in a right royal manner, to dispose of the dead bodies. There is a acute shortage of anything, and doctors, nurses are getting affected. The vaccine has come, but then that is not available. The problems are of different magnitude. I think their immediate attention was, if I am not wrong, I am not trying to support the government, to save lives, to save people. Okay. And in the process, what happens? Education was the casualty. Okay. We lost 1 year. Okay. More than 1 year, in fact. Okay. Even this present academic year also is going to be like that. We don't know how long. And that is what somebody joked, that all along we have been told education is something of the least important sectors. Teachers, okay, students, they are not cared for. Others are more important. And we are actually experiencing that. Okay. They could have done that. I perfectly agree with you. It could have been worked out. And it is not a massive investment, honestly speaking. And there is infrastructure in some form or the other. If there were a PPP type of mode, public-private partnership, more private institutions, organizations have the studios, network centers, infrastructure, connectivity, they could have provided that. And you don't have to go to physically everywhere. You can be doing from home, providing that. But what all is needed? People in rural areas, students, they should be provided with this access and infrastructure. Okay. That could have been done. Okay. Maybe, I don't know, even a university like ICFI, I would suggest, in a remote hill area, can experiment and start and demonstrate that. How, in a sort of experimental mode, it can be done and implemented and demonstrated in a pilot scale. Okay. Because the problem, honestly speaking, in those areas, in cities and towns, students manage somehow or other because of the parental interaction and providing facilities. Okay. The parents provide either a laptop, iPod, the mobile, and do that. They're at home, they can manage. It's only villages, they have severe problem as we experience, and they don't have access to this. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
Did I answer? Yeah, no.
Not only did you answer, you made me, yes, because I was thinking of actually trying to find some solution for this.
Yes.
And we at the school where I work, we had tried to see if we can make our lessons public.
Yes.
I have found volunteers, some teachers are willing to do that with us. And I'm just looking to find people who are willing to help us try to do this, sir. And
Yes.
maybe someday, once I have something substantial, maybe I will reach out to you to ask for your
No, no,
suggestions as well. Who are
that
the right
is,
people to reach out? Yeah,
yeah, that is great. In fact, in this moment, you see, there are a lot of people who are volunteering even for usual things, providing food, clothing, and all. This is an
correct,
important thing, providing education and infrastructure.
correct,
Okay.
correct,
Children
correct,
are simply suffering and parents have no answer. You go and ask the parent to buy a mobile. They don't have money to eat, buy food.
correct.
Okay. Where is the question of mobile? And every month pay for recharging.
Right,
So if we can do that at our level, something, whatever is possible, some infrastructure we have, and we have brains to solve problems. It doesn't
right,
need, honestly speaking, millions of rupees. Okay.
correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. Pleasure speaking with you.
It's my pleasure. Also. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Dear all, that wraps up our afternoon. On behalf of the ICFI University, Dehradun, I convey sincere gratitude to Professor L.M. Patnaik, Vice Chancellor, sir, for taking out time from their busy schedule and marking this program with their glorious presence. I also thank my colleagues for making this event a success. And last but not least, our head of the department, Dr. Meena Bhandari, Ms. Atulya Verma, the academic coordinator, Swati Raturi, faculty associate, and IT support, Mr. Akhilesh, for extending their constant support and assistance. We hope you found the program informative. Do stay safe, look after yourself, and thank you.
So thank you very much from my side. Take care, stay safe and healthy.